Police Chief Kathy McAlpine for the July dashboard. But first, as always, I like to be timely and relevant, and I want to thank all of you and to our community members that may be listening on what I would consider a very successful national night out that happened last week. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed the connections. It was a smaller one coming out of COVID. We had 12 communities that signed up, and as you know, you all made it, we all made it, our presence known, but we really focus on quality over quantity. And so for the first time, I felt like I could actually stay for more than 10 minutes because I was worried about trying to get to the next one, and really had some great conversations. And so I think it's encouraging to see our neighbors re-engage not only with each other, but with all of us as well. So we look forward to next year's getting even bigger. But we did hear from one group that was, the children were a little disappointed we did not have candy, and so it should be noted for the record that some Tigard police personnel delivered candy today and made a few of the kids happy. So on to more pressing, the July. Mike, if you would be so kind as to put up the slide. I hate to say it as he's pulling it up, but it is focusing on what I call the big three. That's the person crimes, property crimes, and calls for service. That trend is still continuing to move forward. If the slide doesn't, oh, he's got it, okay. So property crime is what I'm really focusing on, and we're still ticking up 42% from last year. And what we're really seeing, besides the organized retail theft, is just people feeling emboldened and blatant of just walking into retail stores, not even trying to conceal it, but just going out. Just the other day, it was 2 grocery carts and a refrigerator that they just walked out with. When a retail store does happen to have loss prevention, we're seeing them get assaulted, having weapons pulled on them. Last week, we had one loss prevention person that lost part of their ear due to a combatant person they were trying to take into custody. Very concerning behavior, all what we consider supposedly property crimes and nonviolent in this behavior. I think if you recall last month, I talked about how we were simply contacting individuals believed to be shoplifting in a store, and they rammed 2 of our patrol cars before we could even really contact them. So, and this is just not unique again to Tigard. We're seeing that across the country, this emboldenment, this.
But it's different than before COVID, right? Oh
yes, yeah. This we can't pin this on COVID. It is whether it's just feeling like I would say the lack that law enforcement can do anything to them, being held accountable and feeling like they can get away with it. But we still investigate. We have a phenomenal commercial crimes unit. It's just a little harder if they're reporting it after fact and they're long gone, as opposed to in progress or they have them detained. But those are our challenges. You've seen the news releases on the updates when we did, I think it just came out yesterday, and we did an interview today. The commercial crimes unit did a joint venture with Fred and Meyer on what we call a retail blitz. It was very successful. So we'll continue to be proactive as well and try and hold people accountable in the areas that we can. I would also ask you to just keep an eye on Senate Bill 48 that passed. It came into effect July 1st of 2022, and that was the bail reform. And again, that goes to, I think in an attempt to create some equity or address inequities in our bail system. What they're really focusing on, those who are in violent crimes, maybe they aren't privileged enough to bail out and they'll stay longer. But those who have done property crimes or other crimes that are not considered to be deemed dangerous to the community, they may just get PR'd or personal recognizance. That's the one I want to watch and see what happens to our crime, especially our property crimes. Yes, it impacts us in other ways. May not fall under person's crime until they assault a loss prevention, but it still is a concern to me, and I definitely will be working with the DA Barton on this to see what the impacts, but I just want to kind of draw your attention and our community to that. And then, as I said, the dispatch calls for service are trending almost 8%, which equates to about 1,000 more calls for service than we did last time at this year. And as you know, with the levy, we have those 8 officers. We filled those, we've trained them, or they're in the academy, but we've had people either leaving the profession or lateraling to another agency, and we just had one leave this month to go to another agency. So those are our challenges. The good news is I've given 4 conditional offers, 3 entry, 1 lateral. The bad news is the soonest we can get them into the academy is now not till February, if we're fortunate. And you know, and they still have the background, psychological and medical, and the psychological is probably 6 to 8 weeks out, just even getting them scheduled for that. So there are a few things that are outside of our control, but we're plowing ahead, and I will keep you all informed. And at that point, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, Chief, I will just on that last point, I will make sure you're aware, because I haven't connected with you about this directly, but the mayor of Gresham is also deeply concerned about the academy access, and I think they've actually successfully lobbied to have a couple of additional classes, academy classes added recently, and then are going to be pushing the legislature to fund additional positions at the academy to make sure that what you're describing is not what we all are experiencing as agencies. So just as a heads up there, there's push afoot, and maybe you know about that, but I don't.
I do, and I appreciate that because DPSST was able to, normally July is their, let's go over the new curriculum, everybody gets a sabbatical. They heard our cries, both elected and the chiefs and sheriffs. They held a July, so we actually were able to move somebody, you know, a month early. This time it's December is going to be shut, so we weren't able to get ours all through the process to get the November academy, so now the next one is February. So there's a gap of December and January of no classes. Now whether or not that changes, which would be nice, understand possibly December would be a one to shut it down and get everything ready, but if there's a chance to push them for a January, that's still going to help. 30 days is 30 days. So thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Other comments or questions? Councillor Newton?
Yes, Chief, thanks for pointing out the good work of the CCU. I saw the news piece before I came to council. And having worked here, I think it's really would be great for our community to have a really good understanding about the value of that unit. It's not every department has a CCU, a commercial crimes unit, and another example of why that's such a valuable program that we have in Tigard that not every community has. So good work.
Yeah, thank you. And I do know that was one of the sections in the community academy that was piqued their interest, and they appreciated knowing a little bit more about them. So we'll make sure we continue to let the community know of their good work. Thank you.
I think the way we fund it is unique too, and worth communicating. Councillor Goodhouse, any questions or comments?
I was just going to ask, I know that we have the CCU, but what can businesses, if there's been more crimes with businesses, with theft and so forth, what can businesses do? Or is that something to reach out and have the CCU come and talk to them? Or is it just, what do they need to do to change their business if people are getting more blatant, just coming in and stealing or causing problems?
Sure. First of all, yes, that is a service that they provide, and so contacting Sergeant Rivera and scheduling that, I would say any business owner can do that. Some of the others, it was brought to my attention, interested community member happened to be at a box store and noticed that most of the high-end items were now locked up, so you couldn't feel them, you couldn't touch them, and they go, is that normal? And I said, well, it's a preventative action because people are just taking and walking out the door. So that's something that it's not the great customer experience that I think retailers would like to provide, but it is a great preventative, just like they did years ago on the ephedrine when they were making methamphetamine and they were just stealing them off the shelf. They had to lock them up, and it was a slight inconvenience, but people got used to it. So I think anything that stores can do on a preventative measure is helpful, and the CCU team can actually walk them through and point out a few things. And that would go for retail, but also your local stores that only have one store. We service all of them.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I guess I just want to thank you and your team for National Night Out. It was a great opportunity to really get to spend some time with the community. Did you want to tell everyone about the drone?
Oh, okay.
The demonstration?
The demonstration?
Yeah, well, as I told the department and I think in leadership team, I think my competitive spirit got the better of me. As you know, sometimes we are upstaged by TVFNR and their shiny fire department rigs and everything else, and so I decided I was going to call in the drone and gathered all the kids, and I can tell you all the adults were just as impressed with the drone. I watched the fire department personnel looking too. So, and what was great is they understood all the different tools. It's not a big brother. It simply really is about officer safety, going out in our green spaces when somebody's missing, or, even assisting K-9 in their tracks. And so it was very well received. We hope to do more demonstrations, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool demonstration to talk about the different ways and the different technologies that we're using to combat everything that's going on. So it was cool to see, and it was very educational. So thank you for bringing it out.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.